Things are not adding up here. In theory, the price of VeChain should be rising because we've got new developments like AI agents and also news articles write about wallet growth. And it appears as if VET tends to trade in a range. Sometimes it's cheap, sometimes it's expensive. And if we were to go back to the equilibrium price, which is this dotted line, VeChain could appreciate by more than 600%. So here, have a look at this. New wallet growth and VTHO burn. So that's the gas token of VeChain. But I don't believe the news. I rather verify things myself. And here we've got the number of unique addresses on VeChain directly from the VeChain Stats Explorer. Yes, this is going up, but per default, this is a line that has to monotonically increase because addresses only get created. They never get destroyed. Have a look at how many new addresses get created per day. This peaked close to 1 year ago and since then crashed. Here we've got the number of active accounts, a chart that looks very similar. In other words, all of those new accounts that got created, they did not stick around. Still, in the end, crypto is all about buying the asset low when nobody wants it and then selling it high when everybody talks about it. And there are potential drivers, such as new tech developments that could push this price up. So let's have a look at this in more detail. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active trading of altcoins. Over the last 2 years, I started to publish my trades in real time. We made 47% APR, while most people in the crypto space lost money. When we include the open positions, we are at an all-time high. And every single trade is listed over here. This website updates in real time. And I don't think that many people in this space are willing to be as transparent with their trading. So what's going on with VeChain? What we've got over here, that's the number of decentralized exchange transactions. So VeChain also hosts various decentralized exchanges. We've got BetaSwap, we've got dThor, VRocket, VSwap, VExchange. And we can clearly see how this is not growing recently. Here's the number of new smart contracts being created over time. And here's the number of VET holders over time. Now, this is probably the worst of all of those charts because even if a project doesn't see fundamental adoption, it can still go up if simply enough people buy it. Meme coins, for example, there is no technology for meme coins. It's just traders trading against each other. But if the number of such traders goes up over time, then the meme coin price tends to go up as well. That's why seeing how the number of investors in VeChain is not increasing is not a pretty picture. Here's the capital that's on VeChain over time. So the TVL, the total value locked. 2022 was not a great day for VeChain, but even the recent past doesn't really look very convincing. Now, not everything is bad here. For example, we do not have an inflating token supply. This is very different for VeChain compared to other altcoins. The number of VET stays fixed. Still, the long-term trend looks terrible. This is VeChain relative to the rest of the market, relative to the altcoin market. So really, we cannot make the argument that VeChain just went down because all of crypto went down. VeChain went down much more than the rest. And it did so very consistently. Check out VeChain relative to Bitcoin. It just trends down all the time. Every now and then, though, we do see a quick rally. And those might be news events, those might be short squeezes. And seeing this trend and then decide maybe I should now bet on falling prices, it's probably a little bit too early. We rather want to be at the higher end of the trading range if we wanted to bet on a falling VET price. Now, the problem is we don't really know what causes the long-term sell pressure because, again, it's not token inflation. Maybe the market makers and big players, they bought a lot of VET in the early days and they're now just releasing this over time. That's the only straight explanation I have, but I don't know who that selling entity is. Now, there are developments that bring a bit of hype around the project. For example, we've now got VWorld, so an AI agent platform. And some people are already pushing this on X, formerly known as Twitter, how to create an AI agent. It's not hard, it's just a user interface on the web platform. But then there are other people that see this very differently, as in people are getting slaughtered and the project might have 6 months or less to do something drastic to save the project. By the way, if you are on X, formerly known as Twitter, then feel free to also check out the account of this channel. I publish data regularly over here. Make sure though that you follow the right account. So that's @BitcoinStrat. make sure you don't follow a fake account. There are many fakes and imposters and scammers. At Bitcoin Strat is the only real account. Now, this push for AI has brought a lot of attention on VeChain. Just have a look at the number of social mentions over time. This is now skyrocketing. The question is, how much of this is organic? Because the number of social mentions is not going up. The number of creators talking about VeChain is also not going up. So something seems to be manipulated here. Seems to be maybe automated bot posts that try to push up this metric. This here is also rather uncommon. 98% positive sentiment. In other words, there's only 2% of social media activity that's not bullish on VeChain. Usually this number is above 50%, but it tends to be at around 60 or 70%. Definitely not at 98%. So something is off here. Let's have a look at the trading volume. So we've got 2 million on the spot market in the last 24 hours. We've got 13 million on the perpetual futures. So there's much more short-term levered bets on VeChain. After October 10th, when we saw the flash crash across many altcoins, the funding rate for VeChain is much more neutral. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. It used to be bullish most of the times, but the people that held perpetual futures long term, they got wiped out on that day. Here's the potential bright side. The trading volume on VeChain is currently very low. And there's a positive correlation between the price and trading volume. When more people talk about the asset, it tends to go up. When less people trade the asset, it tends to go down. But of course, betting on rising prices of VeChain is very, very dangerous. Just have a look at the liquidations. They are all on the long side. The shorts are not getting liquidated. And this is the potential opportunity because we don't necessarily have to find winners in the market. Actually, it's easier to find losers. Most cryptocurrencies tend to go down versus Bitcoin over the long term. And so trying to find the few winners in an ocean of losers is playing the game on hard mode. We can play the game on easy mode. Why don't we just bet on the further decline of already bad crypto projects? We have to be cautious with that approach though, because even something like VeChain sometimes shoots up massively, but then it comes back down. And those price appreciations, they mainly happen because leverage enters the asset. So the open interest on the perpetual futures goes up, and so arbitrage bots then cross trade this with the spot market. That's why spot gets pushed up as well when leverage through perpetual futures enters the asset. Currently, the leverage is very low, so there is a good chance that VeChain gets another significant rally. Again, betting on a falling VeChain price right now might be too dangerous. This is VeChain relative to Bitcoin. But in general, this approach does make sense. It's not about the macro trend, it's just about the micro timing here. In general, we want to be on the position of the macro trend, which is down. So we rather bet on falling prices than on rising prices. The question is, when do we do that? If we long term don't buy VeChain, but instead we go long Bitcoin and short VeChain at the same time, then our chart looks like this. This is now very enticing. But when do we enter? Now, I've run a backtest again using Bitcoin Strategy Analytics, or the backtesting platform of this channel. I ran VeChain versus Bitcoin. When should we go long? When should we go short? And what we see here below, that's the sum of 40,000 backtests. So I tried to figure out what kind of moving average crosses works. The slow moving average versus the fast moving average. That combination, what should we actually take? The best result is over here, the 2-day and 29-day simple moving average. So buying and holding VeChain, of course, was a disaster. It gave minus 36% per annum, so annualized. Following this trading strategy, and I will talk about this in a second, gave us plus 83% per annum. It almost doubled our capital without any leverage. And it did so very consistently. So this is now the VeChain price at the top, and we've got the trading performance in US dollars in the middle chart, and the trading performance measured in VET tokens at the bottom chart. So every year, this tends to time the VeChain market very, very well. And so this is then how that looks like in practice. We look at the two moving averages, the 2-day SMA and the 29-day SMA, and we want to bet on falling prices whenever the orange line is below the blue line. And we want to bet on rising prices whenever the orange line is above the blue line. And so here is where it becomes a bit tricky, because we've already sold off so quickly in VeChain. I think it's best to just wait until the 2-day simple moving average goes again above the 29-day. And then not necessarily to buy, because there are our fake outs, but to just take this as a signal that once we get the death cross again, once we fall below the 29-day SMA again for 2 days, to then enter a short position. The long-term trend is clear. We just have to find the right entry opportunity to get into a setup that looks like this. So long Bitcoin on the one side, short VET on the other side. Now, why do we have this combined position? It's because there's so much correlation within crypto. Let's say Bitcoin was to go up suddenly, unexpectedly by 20-30%. Then of course VET would also go up. It probably would go up less, but it would also appreciate. So just naked shorting VeChain is dangerous. If we hedge the short versus Bitcoin, then the volatility of our position is much lower. So again, this is VeChain relative to Bitcoin, a very consistent underperformer. But VeChain just in US dollars, it's much more volatile. It does have its little rallies every now and then. So we want to hedge this by canceling out the macro movements, by opening 2 positions at the same time. Long Bitcoin, short VeChain. We are effectively just betting on VeChain underperforming. We are not betting on the general crypto market's direction. And so that's in general my playbook for trading altcoins. I always look at relative performance. That's why this chart appreciates that consistently and doesn't have any major drawdowns. Again, just have a look at the history, right? We go short one asset, we go long the other asset. And we do this based on the best moving averages, based on statistics, right? So whenever we get a death cross, for example, over here, that's when we want to open the short. And then we close the short once we get the golden cross. And I think that's the optimal approach for VeChain as well. We first need to get positive momentum, maybe driven by the AI agent hype. And then once we get the death cross and the long-term selling continues, that's when we enter the short. That's when we bet on falling prices and basically get into this setup. We want to enter over here, or over here, or over here, etc. The macro trend should be in our favor, but timing the micro is very useful as well, especially as a risk mitigation technique. Now, the trades that are currently open, they are of course for the premium members that financially support the channel. But I've also started something new now. One of those premium trades that's currently running that I still have open is available for free. The link is down below. You will see when I entered, why I entered, and I still think it is a good trade. Otherwise, we wouldn't hold it right now. Just put in your email address over here and you will also get a tutorial video on how to set up those relative valuation trades. Because again, we don't just bet on a falling price of VeChain, for example, right? We always have 2 positions and we have to manage our risk with those 2 positions as well. But that's all explained in detail in the tutorial video. So you get not only a trade, you also get the instructions on how to execute that trade. Once you've made money with that, then of course you can still decide to enter premium for the paid plan, but that's not topic of this video. Feel free to just grab the free trade first. So yeah, just because an asset like VeChain long-term underperforms doesn't mean we can't make money. Far from it. I actually think it's easier to make money from falling prices than from rising prices because again, the odds are in our favor. Most assets tend to underperform Bitcoin most of the time. It's much easier to bet on the structure of the market compared to trying to pick the few winners. That being said, the trading activity and the leverage on VeChain is currently very low. So entering a short right now is probably too early. We first have to wait for a rally and then bet on falling prices. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.